Hello YouTube and hello viewers, and welcome back to yet another episode of creating our 2D fighting game in Unreal Engine 4. My name is Waz and I take you for all these amazing tutorials. Before we start the video, don't forget, if you like the end of this video, please remember to like it. If you really like this, then subscribe. And if you really like it, don't forget to share this with your friends. So today's lesson is going to be all about creating spawn points for both our characters. So in the previous video, all we did is we got it to spawn basically just on the map at a random location to start off with. But in this episode, we're going to get them to spawn at certain locations by using target points in this session. So without further ado, let's get started. So pretty much everything's still the same. Mine crashed for some reason when I tried to save it, so I had to try and recreate it. So a few things might be a little bit different, but it shouldn't be too different to what you guys are working with. I tried to keep in with the video, luckily now than later on into the series. Thank goodness for that. So what we're going to be doing is, as I said, we're going to be making some spawn points for our character. So for example, player 1 and player 2. But basically what we want to do first is we want to add a player start. So we're just going to search for player start, and we're just going to stick one on to here, and we're just going to place it on the object. And we're going to pretty much just do the same. Where is that? Actually, we want to make sure that's flat on there so we don't get lost. And if we delete that character out, it won't really matter too much, because if we hit play, we've still got the player star. Our camera's a bit out, so let's actually just move this a bit so we can see it working. Hello, character. Do I need to move it some more maybe? Let's move it in some more. That's a bit strange. It doesn't matter, because we're going to spawn them in anyway, so it's not much of an issue where we put them. So when we're looking at what we have currently, obviously we've got our player, we've got our player 2, and when we created our controllers, we spawned in player 2 to a random location here by spawning the actor. Obviously, we don't want that to happen. Sorry, I'll close down my Steam so that doesn't happen again. So we don't really want that to happen. So we're actually going to make some spawn points for our characters to jump onto. And this is really easy, but there's a few things we need to set up first before we start doing this. And the first thing we need to do is we're going to go into our map. So into our blueprint of our map. So if you remember, we go blueprint and open up our level blueprint. And basically, we want to make sure that we can get our characters. So this is going to be very vital for us later on, especially when we start making a character select screen and all that type of jazz. We're going to need to do this. So off our sequence node, all we're going to do is pull one pin off, and we're going to say get all actors of class. And basically, we want to get our characters. So we're going to get our 2D side scroller character as number 1. And we're going to do the same, so we're just going to make another pin. I'm going to drag that off and do it again. So we're going to get all actors of class. And this one's going to be our 2D side scroller character 2. Now, remember previously what we did is we set up 2 variables here for player controller and 1 for a character. We're going to do the same here. What we're actually going to do is we can either get this and then do it the long way, or we could just set it up manually. So what we can do is we're going to make one called char1 for character 1. Obviously, he's not going to be a boolean. He's going to be the 2D side-scrolling character 1. And he's going to be a reference. And we're going to do the same again. This one's going to be called char2. Again, you can name these whatever you like. It doesn't have to be particular what I call them. And I'm going to call it 2D side-scroller. And it's going to be character 2 as a reference. So what we need to do is we need to get off these. So we're going to get. We're going to do the same here. So we're going to get that. So really all we want to do is we want to set these variables with this information of these actors. So we can just get character 1, and we're going to set him, and we're just going to get character 2, and we're going to set the character 2. Very straightforward, nothing too crazy. Just set these up. You could cast 2 if you wanted to, but we could just set it directly if we, in this instance. So that pretty much sets up these variables. So basically when it begins play, it'll obviously set our camera on the level and then also pull in our characters. So why we get this is because we might have more than one type of character. So we might want to pull in some array of that character, especially if it's a different character select of some sort. So we might want to change that, hence why we're coming off the sequence node. So now all we need to do is we need to make a little event that's going to be able to spawn our characters into certain locations. But first of all, we need to get 2 target points on our map. Now this is pretty straightforward. All we need to do is just get a target point. So just target point. We'll just drag that onto our scene. So just make sure that's in line with our, we don't want the characters to fall through. So we're just going to call this one player 1 TP, so target point. And if we drag that across, so Alt and drag makes 2. And we can call this player 2 TP for target point. So basically we're going to tell Unreal that when the game loads, we want them to spawn player 1 in this location, and we want to spawn player 2 in this location. Very straightforward, it's not very difficult, this tutorial. So just going to save that, and we're going to go back into this section. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a custom event, so custom event. So we're going to add a custom event, and we're going to call this one, we're just going to call this spawn players. And this is going to be very important because don't forget, after every round, say for example a player wins, we want to spawn them to the exact location. So we're going to call this quite often. So it's important that we make a custom event in this situation. And it's very easy. We're just going to say teleport. Turn context sensitive off. I'm going to teleport. Right, so we're going to teleport, and I'll show you exactly what we're going to teleport in a second. So we need a target. In this case, we've got character 1, so we're going to do character 1 first. So he's going to, oops, I didn't mean to do that. So we're going to get character 1, and his location is going to be that target point. Remember that one that we set up. So if we go into our map, select our first target point, go back and right click, make sure our context sensitive is on. You can see we can create a reference. Nice and easy. We're going to get that location. So we're going to get the actor location, if I can spell correctly. So get actor location. There we go. So actor location. And we're just going to plug that in to this destination. So that's just going to set up our player 1 to teleport into wherever that location is of that target point. And then we also want to do the same for our second player. Now, I'm going to show you an issue. Actually, let's do without the issue. So we'll just do the teleport. And we do exactly the same thing again. So we can get our character 2 this time. So character 2. And we're just going to get our spawn point 2. So click on it, go back, add a reference. I'm going to get the actor location. Actor location. And then we just plug that value in into our teleport. Like so. Okay. Now, obviously this is not going to work. Well, it would work technically. That function does work. So this whole event is all working as it should do. But what we need to do is we need to tell when the sequence node goes off. So when it begins play, then obviously of this actor, we want to obviously respawn him. So we're going to set the spawn player. So we're going to say spawn player. There you go, spawn players. And we'll do the same, so we can just copy that and paste that. And if we plug that in, that should then be okay. So basically, when the map loads, we load our characters in no matter which one we've got. We then set them to player 1, player 2, and then we spawn them by using this event that we've got running here. Now, if I remember correctly, this might give us some errors, and I'll show you what those errors might be. So we have play. We can see, I don't know where my characters are. So that was player 1. So let's just move him there, and we'll move player 2 because he doesn't move. So there we go. So player 1 is obviously in that location, and player 2, we haven't set up any controls yet. That'll be in the next few series to come. But we can see that no matter where we move these target points, if I put him right next to player 1, he'll spawn in that location. So this is a nice, unique way to set up where exactly we want them to spawn. But you can see what's happening down here is that I'm getting all these errors. And that's because what's happening is it's checking through this event, and it's saying, okay, this is 1 and 2. And if you can imagine, this happens in milliseconds. This is so fast how this happens. And basically it's saying, once we hit here, teleport this. Now, in this instance, it can do that, but he doesn't know what this guy is. So that's where the error is coming from. So all we have to do is just plug what is known as an isValid statement here. So isValid. So we can say isValid. And all we want to check is to see if our character is valid. So we're just going to check if he's valid. And if he is, then obviously teleport him. So if we compile and play, you'll see that everything works as it does already, except that our character is facing the wrong way. We can sort that one out. And if I press escape, you notice I get no errors this time because we've made sure that is this a valid option first before we do the next sequence. So this bit here. So we can comment this out. Comment. And we're just going to call this event spawn players to target points. Oops, target points. Okay, so that's very important. And just to turn that character around, it's very easy. We can just come off this teleport node and we can say set actor rotation we want. So set actor rotation. And obviously we want to flip him around. So we want to make sure that he goes minus 180 degrees on the Z axis. And obviously we need to plug in a target. So we want to get our character too. We'll just plug that in. And now that should technically turn our character around. There we go. So we got player 1 obviously facing the right direction, and so is player 2 now in the right direction, all because we just set up this little section here just saying set the actor rotation and turn him around. And that's pretty much it for this session. Pretty straightforward. This is going to get really long, so I'm just going to make a comment saying sort out actors. Let's call it sort out players. This is, as I say, this is going to get very long because we're going to have to do things with HUDs and everything in this section. So we're actually just going to expand this because it's going to be quite long with the amount of information we're going to put in there. So yeah, that's pretty much all we need to know in regards to setting up the spawn points for the characters and get them to spawn with the camera. In our next session, hopefully what we're going to look at in the next session will be creating our camera. So we're going to set it so it'll move with the characters. We can find out the exact locations. We can then use the panning so we can make the camera expand and contract depending on where the characters are. So we get a very nice viewpoint of the fight scene that we're going to be working with. Again, I know this has been a nice little short session today. Very easy with setting spawn points. It's not that difficult. My name's Wazza. It was nice taking for this session. Remember, if you like this video, hit the like button. If you really like this, then subscribe to my channel, please. And if you really, really like this, then don't forget to share this with all your buddies. Again, thank you very much and goodbye.